Hello, and welcome to another episode um, of I don't know what I'm calling it at this moment, so I'm gonna go with Eli's mindful thinking because I had posted a few things on like mindful thinking and like I have a little like category like subject like folder in my notes as well with Instagram where I'm have it phrased as mindful thinking. So we're gonna go with Eli's mindful thinking. So yeah, so welcome to another episode of that. It might be your first, might be your second, but with that being said, today I wanted to talk about um, mental fitness, and just in a very basic, brief way, just to get kind of an outline of it, and just kind of like a superficial view where mental fitness goes, just having the fitness to be mentally stable and being able to take on your problems with certainty and just knowing what to do and what course of action to take takes a lot. But with that, we're here on Earth anyways. Might as well take on this journey and do it to the best of our abilities and just take the time to learn how to do this type of stuff and also to really teach other people how to be able to do this stuff because it's only by us learning and creating and pushing for this positive environment, this healthy environment where as a whole we're all going to become better. So today, based off, I got some stuff off the Mel Robbins podcast. If no one's listened to it, very highly recommend to listen to it. Mel Robbins is amazing. She's phenomenal. And she has this whole intro where she's like, world's leading expert, this, and this. New York Times bestseller. But yeah, Mel Robbins podcast, highly recommend to listen to. And today we have a mindset reset episode. And I got the inspiration and a lot of the knowledge from her podcast, especially this episode, to talk about this type of stuff. And basically, I wanted to start off with the definition of mindset. Like, what is a mindset? Mindset essentially is the beliefs and the opinions that we have on the world, and like our take on the world. It's our belief and our opinions on the way the world works. And I think that is such a huge factor that drives our everyday lives and just our interactions with everyone, because everyone's going to have different beliefs and opinions and everyone's living in their own little bubble where we're all just kind of crashing into each other and just trying to coexist in this crazy world. And I feel like mindset is such a huge thing, whether it comes from nurture or nature. That's always like, something up to debate. But regardless, it's a huge factor. Some people are just born the way they think and just have like, this is their form of understanding of the world. And a lot of people, it ends up being nurtured the way they were raised, whether it's culturally, religiously, just their household, just the environment they were in, the schools they attended, the friends they had, all that type of stuff. So basically, it's never a certain, just never just a one thing, but in the whole of it, and really the bigger picture, mindset is essentially the way Mel Robbins compares it on her podcast is just a set of sunglasses, which is an interesting way to put it when you really think about it. Because if the way we view the world and our opinions and our our beliefs and this mindset that we have on the world really takes form from the lens we use, essentially, depending what type of lens you use, whether it be shape, whether it be the size, but very specifically the color of the lens you use, is really going to take on how you live your life and the way you kind of approach your life, and really the results that you get from everything you do, because it's based off these lens and this mindset that you have, and the way you view the world is really going to affect the outcome of everything. Because you can either approach the world and just your life with a set of dark lens sunglasses or a light lens sunglasses, where it be blue lens or like these pink rose lens that I've seen. I actually have a pair of like an orangey ones, and it's just like a orangey red ones, and it really takes shape on how you view the world, whether you're driving, you're going down the street, and like everything you see. And all of a sudden, like sometimes I'm like, oh, it's really dark outside, and then I lift the lens, I'm like, oh, it's so like it's still daylight essentially. It's just these lenses are making everything dark. And it's when we have those set of lens on that really like that, it's so interesting, because that's what's really gonna take form our lives are going to take form off of this, because we can either view the world in a negative, dark way, or we can view the world in a positive way, in a nice, light colored way. So depending what lens you put on, whether that came from who you grew up, how you were raised, who raised you, how you grew up, what you were exposed to, any trauma or any type of like situations that kind of like had a huge impact on who you are and the way you think and the way you view the world, and the set of lens that you have on is really going to really define kind of the way you're living your life. But the best part about that is that these lenses don't have to stay on forever, and it's really up to you to take off these lenses and put on a new set of lens. If you feel like the way you view the world and the way your life isn't the way you want it to be, then you have the ability and you have the power to take control of your life and take authority back over your life and create the life that you want to live. And that's the beauty of this. So we're going to get into this, but basically the science of it, which is like, it's not just like me kind of talking about it here, like the backbone of this is like the science of it when it comes to our neurological, anyways, that's a butcher that one, but that process, just kind of like how our nervous system works and how our mind works and how the brain works, is like high plex capacity, like working computer that we have in our heads. And basically there's a system, it's called the reticular activating system, better known as the RAS. It is just above the spinal cord, and this little sphere looking thing, I think it's vertically placed. It is actually what connects the subconscious mind to the conscious mind, or vice versa, the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. It is literally the link between what we are actively thinking about to versus what the thoughts and this like mentality that we have in our head, in our subconscious, that just kind of really like is not active but so passively, where it just kind of like sits there and really has a huge toll on how we view the world. And the RAS system, essentially what it does, it basically, when it connects the subconscious to the conscious, it basically is bringing into light what you want to see. And Mel Robbins talks about this in there. The research that I was doing, it also talks about this. Really, whatever you decide to see, or what you decide, like, I want to see this. Like, if you're in a room and you're like, you know what, I want to see the color blue. All of a sudden you realize, wow, there's a lot of blue things in here. A lot of like little slightly like blue objects, or like, just colors that stand out that I didn't realize before. I didn't realize this color. Right now, I just noticed my candle, my book, my game, a picture, a suit that I was wearing. I have a frame on the TV. And it's just like, when you tell the RAS system what you want to see, it switches in about a nanosecond. It's an instant switch, and everything starts to stand out. And obviously this can be like a minor thing, but this is also if you really develop this can be like a huge impact on how you view your life. Because at the end of the day, if you decide to see the positive versus the negatives, it's only through this RAS system that either one is going to stand out. And it's really up to us to really be decisive and make the decision, like, this is what I want from my life. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter the trauma that you've had. It doesn't matter if you have anxiety, depression, like fears of anything, if you're doubt, if you have like, you're very self-conscious about yourself, like regardless of what it is, by making this decision, this is when the first step to achieving mental fitness and really taking back the control of your life that you had lost to your subconscious mind, based off the factors of everyone else in your life and all the experiences that you had that you probably had no control over the moment. And it's not your fault, but it is up to you, and you have the ability, whether you realize it or not, to change this life and take back the control and the authority you had in your life. So I just have some notes here, but the definition of mental fitness is the ability to think clearly and to make decisions efficiently. And it's only really through certain steps, and it's not like a quick thing. This is a journey, but it's only through these certain steps that we're able to develop this and really be decisive and make the right decisions in our lives. But it's only really based off how our subconscious links to our conscious mind, that regardless of like things are actively going wrong and you're like, okay, telling yourself like this is kind of like this is the problem I have, like I'm dealing with this, like, you know, like I have this situation, my mother, my brother, like, you know, the bills, like work, all this type of stuff. But your subconscious mind, when you develop it to have the right set of lens on and look at the positivity and things, you're like, you know what, this problem isn't as bad as I thought. And then it's when you tell yourself, like, you know what, like, you know, I'm gonna be okay. Let's focus. Let's try to figure this out. Let's not stress out, because deep in you, in your mind and in your heart, you know that, you know, like you're gonna be able to get through this. But in the moment, sometimes through the emotions, we panic and we black out, and then we don't really like know how to approach things, and we don't know how to handle things because we're so emotional. And it's like, you know, sometimes you have to take a step back. Just take a step back and breathe and be like, what do I want out of this situation? What do I think is going to be best for me? And it's based off you making that decision and activating in your RAS system what you want to see and what you want to be brought to light, that this is going to happen. So that's really the first step to achieving mental fitness, is really just making a decision. And it doesn't matter what situation you are in, you only just have to make the decision, and everything else follows. And something that I'm so huge on preaching about is like, your present is not your future. Doesn't matter what you're going through right now. That is not what's going to be happening in a few years, but it's up to you to take back the control of your life and really make the decision, be like, I don't want this, and I don't want it to be this way, so I want change. And one of my favorite quotes I had mentioned in a previous video is by Viktor E. Frankl, and he says that his quote is, when we are no longer able to change our situations, we are challenged to change ourselves. And I think that's huge. I think that's such a huge game changer. And it's really us making that first decision, realizing that this isn't going to change unless I change, and I'm the only person who's going to be able to do this and make the change that I need in my life and create the life that I want to live. And just, you know, be intentional with your happiness and your mental health. And it's really up to us. So it begins with that. So this is the tough part, is sometimes we're in like these sticky situations, or we're like going through like the feelings, the emotions of trauma, or like losses of like loved ones, or like fear, anxiety, doubt. And it's really hard through all like the blur and like the fog to be able to see the light and make a decision. But the important part is that when you become decisive and you make that decision, it is when all that blur and the fog is going to start clearing up, and it's start going to clearing the path to the result in the life you want. So that's the most important part, is really just being decisive and making the decision, no matter what situation you are in. When you realize this is not who you want to be, this is not the life you want to live, and you're not happy, it is right then and there that you need to be decisive and be like, I'm going to change this, and this is the life I want to live, and then take the steps and measures to like pursue this life. And so it is huge to just train your mind to focus on the positives and not the negatives, as hard as it may be. But it's only through the journey that you're going to be able to do this. Right now, you're like, oh my gosh, it must be so hard. He's just saying that. But like, at the end of the day, you're not the first one to go through it, and you won't be the last one. And a lot of people have gone through it and gotten out of the situation. And you're going to be no different. But it's really going to be up to you how long you want to be in the situation. Because if you really look at it, life goes on. You're just going to be sitting around, and if you're just going to be sitting around and you're going to be sitting in your self-pity and just kind of like these situations and this trauma and just kind of like hurting in this hurt and like going through the emotions, regardless, tomorrow's going to come. The next day is going to come after that. The next year is going to come. If you're going to be sitting down in the situation you don't want, if the time's going to come and you're going to be hurting anyways, might as well like just change the situation and be decisive and go after it and just create the life you want to live, and might as well do yourself the favor and the you in the future to be like, you know what, I got out of this slump, so then this person doesn't have to deal with this. I dealt with this and I addressed it and I healed from it, so this person doesn't have to deal with it. But at the same time, you're going to be helping others and setting the example that, you know what, like this I went through this, you're going to be able to go through it too. But it's really just doing yourself the favor and realizing that your present is not your future, and you have so much to give. But it really starts with you making the decision and being open. And that comes to my second step, is really finding someone to confide in. It's huge. Like the only way to fix a problem is identifying and accepting that you have a problem. That's the first step to fixing a problem. If you can't realize and you can't acknowledge that you have an issue, or there's a situation and that you have a problem, you're never gonna fix it, because you're gonna be in denial. And I think that's huge, is acknowledging and identifying, like, I have a problem, just being honest, and it's okay. It is okay. This is life, and everyone experiences it. Even if we don't know, we don't see what going through everyone's head, but everyone's just living in their own bubble, just crashing against each other. And it's like you never know what someone else is thinking and what someone is going through, especially when you go on the highway. You see all these cars, you see people walking down the mall, down the street, and it's just like you don't know what's going on in their head. And everyone goes through life, and it is okay to be the way you are, but it's not okay to stay the way you are. And that's why it's so important. That's why I want to talk about this today. And one of the beautiful things that I find is that when you look at it, it's kind of like collateral beauty, I believe is the word. And if you look at it like in that sense, there's always going to be a positive and the negative. There's always going to be a yin to yang. There's always a yang to yin. Like, there's always going to be those things. And it really depends what you focus on is what's going to come out in the light and what's going to take over your life. And something I love is that if you really look at the definition of anxiety, anxiety is a real thing. It has to be addressed. It's like people's brain works differently. Like, their chemical wires are just like the neurons are firing differently. Just people are like, stronger in other ways than others. Same thing with physical. It's no different. Some people are stronger than others. Some people are faster than others. Some people are more flexible. Some people are more athletic. Same thing with the mind. The brain is just essentially just a tissue, but it's an organ, but essentially it's really just a muscle. And it's really depending on us, how we develop this muscle that we're going to be able to develop and achieve this level of fitness that we want mentally. And if you look at the definition of anxiety, it is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. And the key words I want to highlight there is uncertain outcome. And it is so important to realize, it's so mind-blowing to being like, it's really a feeling of unease and this worriness and this nervousness that we get and these emotions that we have about a situation that doesn't even exist yet. And it is up to us to prevent that situation, that outcome from happening, because it hasn't even existed. So we're so scared of something that doesn't even exist. Think about that. It hasn't happened. It doesn't exist. It hasn't even like physically or spiritually been born into this world. And it's only you you're creating and manifesting this outcome to happen. But you're the same person who has the ability to prevent it from happening and actually creating the outcome that you want, and that's going to have the best positive and the most beneficial effects on your life. And that is the beauty in that. And I think it's only when realizing that it's an uncertain outcome and it is not real. And even if you're feeling this way, now it is okay, but it is not okay to stay that way. And it is up to you to really be decisive and take control of your life and be like, you know what, this is not real. It's not real. It hasn't happened yet. I'm just in my head, and I'm an overthinker. So like, I very much can have to tell myself all the time, like, hey, relax. You're fine. Everything is going to be okay. You just have to take the steps necessary to make sure that it's okay. Because we don't just sit there and be like, oh, Hakuna Matata, it means no worries, and just let it be. Hakuna Matata, no worries, but because there's going to be nothing to worry about, and there should be nothing to worry about when you take the action and you take the time to really hammer down on this problem that you have and make it beneficial to yourself. Because then you're going to have that learning experience where, you know what, I went through this and this happened, but I made it out. And you're still here. So if you're feeling this way, that means you felt this way before. That means you've gone through a lot of stuff before that's caused you to feel this way, whether it was someone or something in a situation that caused you to feel this way, but you're still here. And the fact that you're still here means there's still a chance for you to be able to change this. And it's really when you open up to someone and you find someone that can help you, and you acknowledge that there's a problem, that you're going to be able to get through it, because you don't have to go through it alone. We're all put on this earth to experience life and be able to help each other and motivate each other and push each other to become better versions of ourselves. It's only when you find that right community, you find those right people who are trustworthy, want the best for you, that you're only going to be able to achieve these type of things. And yeah, so it's huge, huge, huge. It's so important. But I'm just gonna move that. Sorry about that. But yeah, and it is moving on to the third step. Um, you have to make yourself vulnerable. It sucks, I know. Well, it's only by making yourself vulnerable and putting down those walls that you're going to be able to move forward. But when you have these walls up and this obstacle that's already like, weighing down on the positivity, you're already going through bias and already with the mindset that this isn't going to work out and I'm not going to be able to make it through. And the crazy part is that when you really look at the situation and you begin to put down your walls and you're able to see the problem and this person and this thing in its full embodiment, that you're able to be like, okay, you know what, you're not so big and you're not so scary. Let me break this down and let me just write down. I do it all the time. Every day I have a to-do list, and I follow a to-do list every single day. Someone called me a Sally once. Sally from Cat in the Hat. I'm the little girl who just plans everything, and she says to-do list, check off to-do list, or something like that. And that's literally who I am. I'll put wake up, shower, like get up, get out of bed, all this stuff, and that's just how I am, and it just works for me. But it's only when I look at it, my day doesn't seem so stressful because I know what I have to do. I know what to expect. So like at times I can feel like, antsy and just get like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough time, this and this. I'm like, oh, like I have plenty of time. I have all these hours until I go to bed. I just do this, and this. And when you really look at the problem and you're able to break it down into priority, time, set of difficulty, and really base off that, like set in a order and a to-do list and a plan of action to take this problem on, that the problem doesn't become so scary. You're like, this is very doable. But when you look at the whole problem, you think, I can't beat that. It's like sometimes we want, when it comes to running, like people who know about running, or just anyone in general, we want marathon results with sprint-like actions. A sprinter, someone who runs like, Usain Bolt, like me and mom always talk about Usain Bolt, who runs a 100-meter dash. He's not in the, I think it's a 100-meter dash, yeah. And he's not going to be able to run a marathon at that pace. He's going to give out in probably like the next few minutes, like not even, probably next few seconds, because they're gassed after, they're huffing and puffing after those 8, 10, 12 seconds, 15 seconds. But we want marathon-like results, and we want the journey results now, but without doing the work. And that's where, when we take that decision and we make that active decision to better our lives, and we find someone who can help us, and we decide to look at this problem with this person, or even by yourself. It's only if you need the help. But you look at this problem and you're like, you know what, you're not so big and scary. Let me tackle you here, in a project that everything's gonna be okay, and it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be able to overcome this. This is not the end of the world. You've been in situations before, and you're gonna be in situations later. But this situation is only gonna make you stronger. It is the resistance and the force that we need the stresses that we need to put against our mind to develop it and make it stronger to become mentally fit. The same way you hit the gym. We go into the gym and we lift all these pounds, and like we want to work out, and we're like jumping up and down, and you're causing the stressor on your body, on your lungs. You're breathing, like cardio, like your resistance training, like weights, and like you're getting these muscles and all this type of stuff. It's the same with the mind. We want to get mentally fit, but we don't want to go through the problems. But it's only through the problems that you're going to be able to be mentally fit. So next time you're going to be able to get through it easier and faster, because you did yourself the favor to take the time to learn yourself now, and to really experience and be present in this journey, and realize this is not my future, but right now this is how it's going to be. But I'm going to make sure it's not going to be like that, next time. But yeah, it's these simple little 3 steps that I feel like it's just like the basics and like the superficial of it. And it gets so deep. There's so much into it, but I think it's so important that we really focus on this, and we really do it for ourselves, because I think it's the only way that we're going to be able to become a better version of ourselves, is when we have something or someone or something to rely on, whether it be a friend, family, a goal, an experience, a God, and it's only when when you have those things and someone to rely on, you're like, you know what, I'm going to be okay. And it's going to suck right now, but I'm going to get through it because my present is not my future. And I'm going to make sure of it because I'm going to put my lens of positivity on. I'm going to activate my reticular activating system to work for me. And when that begins to work for me, I'm going to live a better life because I'm going to live a more intentional life because I want to live with the intention of being happy. And that's really what should be our main goal in life, is to make sure we're happy. And it's only by living a good life and having the tools and learning the tools and taking the time to really learn how to use these tools and applying these tools in our lives that we're going to be able to develop a good life. And I just wanted to leave you guys on the note with this quote that I made the other day. And it said, it is only when you begin to live intentionally that you really start to live. And I truly believe in that because I think there was a quote that goes around that I forgot who it was, but it says like every man and every person has two lives. The first life ends. Their second life begins when they realize that they only have one life. And that's the difference between their first and second lives. It is only when you realize it's like, you know what? This is not the life I want to live. This is the life I want to live. And I'm going to go create this because this is how I want to live. This is who I want to be. This is the legacy I want to live. This is who I want to be for my kids, for my husband, for my wife, for my brothers, my sisters, my friends and family, for my significant other. And it's only through taking that decisive action to better your life and live a happier life and look at the positivities and take on the negatives and not be afraid of it because it's only an uncertain outcome. And you have the power and the authority to take back your life because it is yours and create the life and live the life you want to live. So that's it from me from another episode of Eli's Mindful Thinking. And I hope this was beneficial to someone out there.